excited that you are here watching this today, and I hope that I will be able to give you some information that will help you navigate learning your course online. I know that we are in interesting times. Sometimes it's difficult, and I'm hoping that this will help you find a way to navigate yourself through your online course. Now, first I want you to know that every faculty member builds their course in a different way. It's when you go from class to class, when you're face to face, every teacher has a different style, and that's the way online classes are. Now, I'm going to share my style of online class, but know that everybody doesn't have that style. But there are two things you need to do when you sign on. You need to find the syllabus and then find the due dates. That is the most important thing you can do. And always look for changes that might happen weekly. So you should log into your course at least 3 times a week, if not 4. And you should always try to do your assignments ahead of time. So this is how I'd like to start. Since we're all at home, you need to find a quiet place. Now, 2 things are happening in Dallas College at all of the campuses is classes can be live or recorded. But the advantage of the online class is that you can attend in the comfort of your home. You can take a break and go to your car and do a little piece of your class. But let me give you a piece of advice. You should always take notes, either on your computer or by hand, because it will keep you from having to reread things over and over again, and you will get down your main points. While you're studying at home, you need to have an effective workspace for studying. So what do you need to do that? Do you have your own place to study? Okay, so try and find that. I have a student that studies in his closet. Now, everybody doesn't have to do that, but he finds it very relaxing, and that is the place that he can get things done. Let me say that you probably shouldn't study in bed if you can avoid it. If your space is limited, then put something in a backpack or a rolling cart that you know that is your stuff, your things that you're going to study with. If you need to study away from home, make sure you always have your phone and your charger so that you can remain connected. And really, the more time you spend in your study space, the stronger you're going to have an association with it. Make sure your space is comfortable, but that does not mean you should study in bed, okay? The 2 most important things you need to keep in mind is your table and your chair and how that's going to allow your posture to align. I know that I'm spending up to 6 hours in front of a computer, but I have many students. You might only have 2 to 4 classes, but you need to make sure that you are able to stay alert while you're studying. Organize your files. And when I say organize your files, I mean if you are a paper person or you are a calendar computer person, you need to first make sure all of your due dates are in one place for all of your classes so you know when things are due. So I use my phone. I tend to put warnings in my phone. You have this coming up. There are people who have to have paper, so they still put warnings on the page. The other thing is that if you print things, you should have a filing system that might have all your syllabi that are printed and any other materials that your instructor or your professor provides for you. All right? Or set up a storage file on your computer where all of those papers that you are downloading can go. So I am teaching 8 classes now, and so I have a file for Humanities 1302, and then I have student files, and then I have assignments that I might receive, and I have a different file inside Humanities 1302. And I have another online file for Drama 2366, which is my film appreciation class. All of this organization really does help me be able to teach my classes. If you give yourself that organization, you will always be able to find what you need. Once you get your calendar set up, what are your goals? What's your personal goal? What's your time goal? And do it in small pieces. Do not try to sit down and study for 3 and 4 hours in a row. You will not retain the material. Study for an hour. Go take a break. Walk your dog. Get you some ice cream. Get you a Whataburger. Something. Go get you something at Sonic. But give yourself a break and then come back. That's your reward when you get to do that. But complete whatever you have set as your goal before you reward yourself. So I talked about your schedule. Now you want to schedule your time. How do I schedule my time for online? I don't have to show up at a specific time, especially if you don't have a synchronous class. Synchronous means that you meet at a specific time. So how do I schedule my time? Because many people, when they take online classes, tend to wait till the last minute to finish assignments. You know, if it's due on Sunday night, do you know that most people are trying to finish assignments on Sunday night? Try not to do that. If it's due on Sunday night, try and finish it the night before. So, research sites that you have, bookmark those sites so you don't always have to search for them. One of the things that I suggest for my students as an online helper, it's called Quizlet. It helps you make flashcards and games that help you study. If you find yourself checking Netflix, Instagram, or taking a Netflix break one too many times, there's an online tool called Stay Focus, and it will restrict the amount of time you spend on those distractions. And if you're on that too much, then what'll happen is it'll lock you out. Okay? And then pick some specific times to study. And as I've told you before, you should be checking your online course at least 3 to 4 times a week, because changes could be made. Okay? Just like in a regular face-to-face classroom. Establish a routine. I know that some of you work and you have these rotating schedules, which means that you need to sit down once a week. So once you get your work schedule, sit down once a week and then make out your study schedule. That is how you establish a routine. Make a schedule from your syllabus about when you're going to study, when you're going to turn in papers. And if your professor has a discussion board, then you are going to want to finish your discussion board within that time frame. Most professors set up a discussion board for only 1 week. So that means that you need to write your initial post and then respond to at least 2 or 3 people if your professor is using a discussion board. And so they open on a specific date and then they close, and you need to operate within that time. What are your blocks of time for regular study? How do you prepare for test? How do you prepare to write a project and a research paper? Do not forget that you can reach out to our librarians for help. Just because we're not at school doesn't mean you can't reach out to them. So figure out a time when the library is open and how you can reach out to people. If you have to go to paper, use paper. But if you want to online source, my study app is a very, very good source, and it stores everything in the cloud. And it will alert you and alarm you if you put in those alerts to say, oh, you have a test in 2 days, you need to study. Oh, I have a research paper due, or I have an outline to that research paper due. It'll help you establish your routine. And this is hard in this time period of COVID and the change to Dallas College, and we're all online. So what you want to do is, how do you get help? You can ask your family and friends to help you stay on track. So when your friends want you to go out, have that one friend that says, hey, don't you have something that you have to do before we go out? Try that, okay? If you have trouble staying organized, not only can you reach out to your colleagues, the other students, but reach out to the faculty and say, hey, do you know anybody who wants to study together? And you can use Google Meets, which used to be Google Hangouts, and y'all can get on together. You can use Zoom, and I will tell you that will be so important if you can find that study buddy. Also, you can study in groups. That is harder to do when we're dealing with what we're dealing with, but actually it's really easier because now you don't have to leave your house. You can just all go online through Google Meets or through Zoom. And this is what I like about Google Meets, though, is that it has live captioning. And so if someone's talking and you want that caption at the bottom, like you can do your television, you can make that happen. And you can also record the study session. So if somebody in your group misses it, they just have to go back to it. And then you have it to refer to. I think that would be a great thing if you could make that happen. And lastly, if you need help or if something happens, do not hesitate to contact your professor. Okay? We want to be available to you. We want to help you. We want you to be successful. So don't leave us out of the picture. All right? I know that we're not seeing each other in person, but please make sure if you need help that you contact your professor. What if you can jump ahead? So this is how I build my courses. The lighter material is in the first 3 weeks, and the heaviest material is in the last 3 weeks. So if you can get your lighter material out of the way, then you have time to work on the heavier material that's going to take you some time to complete. So I have projects in my class. I have a major project, just one, and I have it done in pieces. So if you would finish some of the lighter workload, that would be really helpful with you as you get to the later weeks in your course. Now, if you're in a 16-week course, then what you're going to find is your lighter material is going to be in the first 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, and then your heavier material is going to be in the last 4 weeks. So always try and balance that, and jumping ahead is a good idea. I want to remind you again to ask for help. There's no shame in that. We are all doing it now, asking for help, because we know that this is a tough time for everybody. It's a tough time for you. It's a tough time for our Dallas faculty. It's a tough time for our Dallas college staff. Everybody's pulling for you, but they're also dealing with their things too. So don't hesitate to ask for help, ever. We will help you figure it out.